Have you ever seen people just live their lives? They share what's on their minds, they laugh about things that they find funny, and they're just being totally relaxed, being who they are. While you are three layers deep analyzing the sentence that you said 5 minutes ago and how it might be perceived and how you're positioning your body and how you're being seen from the side and what's the next thing that you need to say. Does that sound familiar? It's kind of like you have this hyper awareness where even when you're having good time, you're not really fully present. You're still analyzing, you're still seeing all of these things, all of these signals, all of these behaviors and your thoughts and beliefs, and you're not fully here in the moment. So if you're exhausted to always be on alert and never really be present in the conversations you have or the moments that you spend with others, this video is for you. This is something that I noticed in myself, that there was never really a moment when I would just be living, just being in the moment. When I would be doing some work, I'm always thinking about how many steps I am behind, what are the next things that I need to do, how I am not where I want to be, the things that I need to get done, and the goals that I need to achieve. And when I would be with somebody else, I would either try to understand them at a deeper level or try to look at ways or different angles that I can either help and support them or try to understand them. Or I would do the same thing with myself, or I would be, even when having conversation with somebody, while having conversation, I'm always aware of the conversation happening inside of me and some of the ways how I might be perceiving myself from the side, or some of the judgments or imposter syndrome or insecurities or whatever would be coming up while I'm in a conversation with the person, where I never actually fully got to where I would be just present and in the moment. It's like this level of awareness that I had reached, it would be getting in my way of actually being like right here and right now. It's like I'm physically in the room, but I'm not really fully there. My mind is always spinning, always thinking, and distracting myself from this moment. And it goes a bit deeper than that. Even in communication, it's like I would run through these 5 filters of, okay, what can I say based on where this person is at and the emotional awareness or intelligence that they have and how sensitive I know that they are, how much of what I know that I want to share with them I need to share, and in what way I need to share it to them to where it is perceived in a way that I might want it to be perceived. So I never actually just say the thing. I go through these like 5 filters of things that I need to keep in mind to communicate the message that I would want to send to the person. And as helpful as it can be to get the message across and have it helpful, it also can get to the point where you start to filter yourself so far that you filter yourself and your wants and needs out of the message that you're sending, where it's kind of like you put other people's feelings or perceptions higher than your own needs, or things that you find important to you or you find necessary in that moment to communicate. The other thing that you do with that is, instead of communicating, you actually are just managing the way you come across. So it's, in some ways, it's like this perception management that you go through, where instead of just saying what you think, you go through this list of things of how you want to be perceived and how you need to behave, act, or communicate to fall in alignment with that perception that you want to create. So in some ways, you literally start to self-edit yourself to fit this image that you have created, that you have to fit into or that you want to be perceived as. And through all this editing, you can edit so much of you out of that, where now you just become this over optimized version of yourself in the way that you come across, the way you communicate, the way you behave, and decisions that you make. And being an empath definitely doesn't help here, because then you start to, kind of like what I said, you start to put the other person's feelings ahead or higher than your own, and you start to consider more of how what you might say or what you might not say, or you end up not saying, could make them feel, where you can start to literally edit yourself, or you start to self-censor to make sure that you don't hurt other person's feelings, but you end up neglecting yourself and your feelings. And also, you're never truly yourself, because you keep supervising yourself. You keep looking at different things that you need to hold back, or things that you need to reinforce, or it's like you never shared the true you, or you never communicate as the true version of you. It's just this supervised version that has gone through 7 layers of yes, no, right, wrong, and then you came to this final message that you communicate across, or the final way that you show up. One, it's exhausting, but also you never actually be you, which can make it feel lonely. And if we go even deeper into this, let's add self-criticism. On top of being hyper aware and filtering yourself and not being your true self, add to that self-criticism where now not only you are filtering whatever you say, or the way you show up, or the way you behave based on how you want to be perceived, also based on how whatever you communicate might be perceived, or how it might make the other person feel. But now add to that all the things that you're afraid of being judged about, or others seeing, that you might feel ashamed of, embarrassed about, where you can go as far as literally becoming so hyper aware of all the things that you might be judged about, or you don't like about yourself, that you don't want others to see, that you literally can get to the point where you isolate yourself. You remove yourself from the scenario in which you could feel judged, criticized, not accepted. And awareness doesn't help here, because then it makes you aware of all the potential scenarios in which it could happen. It might even create in your head scenarios that might even not exist or be real, but they might be like potential scenarios. So you can literally get to the point where you now take yourself and remove yourself from those situations where you can isolate yourself, you can avoid different events, different engagements, just to avoid having to face that, not even the actual criticism, but the awareness of the potential criticism. Because the criticism or negativity or judgment or whatever it is that you might be aware that you're afraid of, it might actually not be there. It's just that you're aware of it potentially being there, or being in a situation where it could potentially happen, that can lead to this spiral where you start to feel fear and you want to avoid it, and you might feel anxious and you end up not doing the thing at all. So here's something that helped me, is to understand that this is not really awareness. This is more like hypervigilance. This is you being so hyper aware of trying to protect yourself, trying to predict things, trying to create this sense of certainty, but also maybe a sense of safety, that it's not awareness. Awareness is just you being aware. But this is becoming more kind of self-destructive way to live, where you're not fully present. You're always editing yourself and overanalyzing yourself and criticizing yourself, to the point where you physically just don't have time or energy to be present anymore. There's so many things you need to censor and edit out and change, that you're not really here anymore. And in some ways, you might even start losing yourself and understanding of yourself, because of how much of the real you actually end up taking out of the whole equation. And also, don't look at it as something negative or something to get rid of. It's just your protective mechanism. So there might be some things that you need to address within yourself or work through, where becoming aware, that's why awareness is it can be your superpower, because when you become aware of things that you're hyper aware of, or ruminating on, or filtering yourself about, those are the things that awareness can actually help you, or like that's where the awareness can help you, because now that you're aware of those things, you can actually start to work through them, you can address them, you can heal them, you can resolve them, so that they become less and less of a problem. So here's something that you could try whenever you might catch yourself being in the moment of overthinking and hypervigilance, and just really getting in your way when it comes to the awareness. First of all, it is to become aware of you doing it. So in that moment, once you become aware, you probably also are in your head. So what it helps is to try to get in your body, or just use physical senses to get back in the present moment. So you kind of, instead of being in your head, you ground yourself in the present. So you can do that by looking at finding 5 things that you can see. I think it was like 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can taste, or 1 thing that you can smell. I don't know which was the order, but you kind of use your senses of what can I touch? What can I see? What can I smell? What can I hear? So that with doing those things, you actually ground yourself in this present moment, in this environment that you're in. So now you're present. And then, I know you will not like this. I also don't like it. Say the unfiltered thing. Say the thing that you had in your mind that you wanted to share, that you truly wanted to say in that moment. Share that. Don't filter it. Don't overthink it. Share that one thing. It doesn't have to be something huge. Start small and use that as your way to practice building up from there. Also, try to identify when you're thinking versus spiraling, because thinking, critical thinking, it's very helpful. But if you now start to overthink and spiral, that's not helpful. And when it comes to thinking, usually you come to some kind of decision, some kind of conclusion or solution. But with overthinking and spiraling, there's usually no finish line. So that's where, if there's no finish line, you need to kind of stop yourself in the tracks and try to identify of like, okay, what is one thing that I can do? What is one potential solution? What are some of the things that, or some of the ways how I could address this? And then at least you have something tangible or something that can help to stop the spiral. Also, act before you're ready. You will never be ready to say what's on your mind without filtering it. You will never be ready to even stop all the overthinking or be more vulnerable. None of those things you will ever be ready for. It's something that you just have to start doing, and you will get better at with practice. And there's really no way to prepare for doing something that you just haven't done before. So, to close this out, I just want you to know that you're not broken. It's just a protection mechanism that you have created, and it can serve you very well if you use it properly. But it doesn't have to mean that you're broken or something is wrong with you, or that you now have to become like a shallow person who doesn't think and always just says whatever is on their mind. No, you can still keep your depth. I don't think it's going anywhere, because it's just you, it's who you are. But just be mindful whenever you start to spiral or not be in the present and overthink too much, and use those as opportunities to practice, to share what's on your mind, to be in the moment and just sit in it. You don't have to perform. You don't have to be certain way other than just being yourself. So maybe start there.